But I'm here to tell you that those earthly desires are never going to satisfy. You're never going to live up to these unrealistic expectations that yourself and society give you. But the Lord has a plan, and that plan is going to prevail. Another thing is if you are a people pleaser and you're just trying to make it so everyone loves and adores you, that is such an unrealistic expectation to put on yourself, and you are going to find yourself so emotionally drained. We need to find peace with ourselves and understanding, because these expectations can often be ourselves inflicting a storm onto us. If you make these plans for yourself, these unrealistic expectations for you to live up to, but you're really struggling, you can't live up to that plan anyways. The purpose you made for yourself doesn't matter if you're not here at all. Hey guys, welcome back to Peace in the Storm podcast. I'm your host, Andelina Storm. Today, I want to talk to us a little bit about expectations, and I'm sure you have a few unrealistic ones for yourself. To get us started today, I want to read us a Bible verse. And if you're watching, it'll pop up on the screen for you and you can read along with me. And if not, just feel free to listen to me as I read it to us. It is in Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is in the Lord's purpose that prevails. Sometimes we have a lot of worldly expectations for ourselves that we're not going to meet and we're not going to live up to. But if we know that the Lord's plan is our purpose, and that is the one that prevails, that is the one that is going to succeed and do well. So today, I would like to get us kind of started by talking a little bit about a time that I've given myself some unrealistic expectations. And maybe you relate to this. There's many times in my life when I've given myself unrealistic expectations. Maybe that was in high school with grades. I would push myself to get the best GPA, to make my parents proud, and put so much expectation on myself. So many of us, especially in high school, gave ourselves such strong expectations for how we thought we should be succeeding or how well we should be performing. Maybe you put a lot of pressure on yourself to get the lead in your school play, or to be a starter on your sports team, or to get great grades. Maybe that bled into college. Maybe you still had the same expectations of the GPA you're going to have in high school to college, but now you're in harder classes. You have a harder major. Maybe you still had the expectations to perform well if you did play a sport in college. Maybe it's in your job. Maybe you put so much pressure on yourself to succeed and make a lot of money. Or maybe you just have to be liked by so many people. Maybe you just put unrealistic expectations on being a people pleaser and wanting everyone to like you. But I'm here to tell you that those earthly desires are never going to satisfy. You're never going to live up to these unrealistic expectations that yourself and society give you. But the Lord has a plan, and that plan is going to prevail. That plan is the one that's going to succeed. So for me, a time I gave myself really unrealistic expectations was in college. My dad's a dentist, and I always wanted to be just like him. Since I was 7 years old, have promised myself that I was going to go to college, and then I was going to go to Detroit Mercy Dental School in Michigan, just like my dad did, and become a dentist. But that realistic expectation wasn't really realistic. It looked pretty attainable. My dad did it. I was just going to follow in his footsteps, right? He had his own practice. I was just going to take over. That sounded like something that was totally doable. But the difference is I wasn't really good at math or science like I was supposed to be to get through undergrad. So when I'm in college and I'm crying over my homework every night and I'm trying really, really hard to be really good at calculus or chemistry or biology, and I'm just like really struggling alongside, if you listen to my podcast before this, my previous episode, you know that I had a lot of mental struggles in college. I was really struggling with depression, anxiety, OCD. So for me to be dealing with all these things and just sitting and doing homework that I didn't understand, no matter how hard I tried, it just wasn't realistic for me to succeed in this. Hey guys, I have a free Peace in the Storm journal for you guys to help you guys write down the storms you're going through and combat that through scripture and through different coping mechanisms. You can find it below in the show notes. And coming off of high school, I had really unrealistic expectations my grades should look like, for how well I should be doing in these classes. This wasn't high school anymore. This were college level chemistry courses. And when I wasn't 4.0ing them, I was really upset with myself. I was carrying that burden of that. And I came to a conclusion my sophomore year when I realized that God was really putting it on my heart to go into the mental health space. If I was continuously going to be fighting against the purpose and the plan God had for me, I wasn't going to prevail. The Lord had given me the gifts of really enjoying reading and writing and speaking. And when I put myself in that place, things came easier to me. I felt like I was doing the right thing. But when I was trying to veer off the plan that God had for me by pushing myself to get a 4.0 in chemistry and going down this path to being a dentist, I wasn't succeeding the way that I would if I was in the plan that God purposely made to prevail. Another thing is you need to really evaluate how you feel and where your mental space is at. Because if you make these plans for yourself, these unrealistic expectations for you to live up to, but you're really struggling, and you end up making a decision that harms you or sets you back, you can't live up to that plan anyways. The purpose you made for yourself doesn't matter if you're not here at all. So you need to choose the path that makes you feel good, that makes you know that you are okay, that you are in a space where you can succeed. You need to sit and ask yourself, where is it that I feel I'm called to be? Not what makes you the most money, not what you think looks the coolest, not what society tells you should be doing. Another thing is if you are a people pleaser and you're just trying to make it so everyone loves and adores you, that is such an unrealistic expectation to put on yourself, and you are going to find yourself so emotionally drained from constantly trying to make it so you live up to unrealistic expectations people hold over you. Don't let anyone be the person that sets the expectations for you. You need to only be setting expectations for yourself alongside the expectation the Lord is setting for you. And just know that we all do it. I'm not coming out here and saying to you oh my goodness, you shouldn't be setting these unrealistic expectations for yourself. That's awful. We all do it accidentally. We all fall into this trap and this loophole of constantly feeling like we should be doing more. And a big part of that is the fact that social media and society is so loud right now. It is so loud. And it is constantly telling you need to do things and you need to perform in a way that just really is unrealistic. And you think that these other people are doing it. But social media is fake. The life that they're portraying that they're living is not necessarily the life that they're living at home. And the way people present themselves in class or at work, you have to remember they still have other lives. They go home, and whatever expectation that they're living out isn't necessarily one you have to be living out as well. We need to find peace with ourselves and understanding, because these expectations can often be ourselves inflicting a storm onto us. Because when we have these unrealistic expectations, it turns into anxiety. We're giving ourselves anxiety, constantly feeling like we need to know what's going to happen next. And we need to be living in this way. And if we're not doing it, then we're a failure. And when we feel like we're a failure and we feel isolated, then we're getting depressed and we're getting sad and we're getting lonely. And we're not feeling like we're ever going to amount to nothing. And when we do that, we are creating these storms then now we have to find an escape out of. When we give ourselves these unrealistic expectations or we let other people give them to us, we now have to combat additional storms. We now not only have this unrealistic expectation, but we're also super anxious that we're never going to figure that out. Going back to my story, I was anxious all the time. Like I wasn't going to get into dental school, or I wasn't going to do well in my classes, or my dad was going to be disappointed in me that I wasn't following in his footsteps, which just none of that was anything I needed. And it wasn't even really true. Or when I was putting myself in that position, my depression was getting worse because I'm feeling so lonely and isolated by constantly failing myself and thinking I'm failing the people around me. But I really wasn't. The only person I was failing was myself because I gave myself expectations I wasn't going to be able to live up to because I was getting called to something differently. Because the expectations that were realistic were something completely different, were something that was obtainable and something that wouldn't give me additional anxiety and wouldn't make me feel lonely. But when we do this, when we inflict this on ourselves, we constantly feel like we're not enough. And then we have to find additional peace for the storm we're living in. So I challenge you to think about, what expectations do you have in your life that genuinely kind of are unrealistic? What kind of burdens are you inflicting on yourself accidentally because you think you're supposed to live up to something that you necessarily don't have to or you don't need to? So I'm challenging you to open a journal today, or maybe it's the notes app on your phone, and write down the unrealistic expectations you're giving yourself, and then just sit in silence and wait and see if you're actually being called to something differently. And if you're not, and you're still feeling all this turmoil and all this storm towards the expectations that you think you're supposed to live out, find ways to fight that, to combat that, to know that you can have peace in expectations you have for yourself. Having expectations are good. We need to make sure there's something we can reach and they're obtainable instead of just wringing ourselves dry. So if you do find yourself in a storm right now, make sure you grab your umbrella, and I'll see you guys next week. Feel free to leave a 5-star rating. I'd really appreciate it. To like and share. Maybe you know someone that should hear this. Please share that with them. You can continue watching on YouTube or listening on anywhere you find podcasts, and I'll see you guys next week.